and the arrival of Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim.
Your Majesty, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 15th ASEAN-United Nations Summit. Without further ado, may I invite the Honorable Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, Prime Minister of Malaysia, to proceed with the meeting. Datuk Sri, the floor is yours.
Well, the floor has been mine for the whole day. Now, thank you very much, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Excellency António Guterres, Secretary-General of the United Nations. Welcome to the 15th ASEAN-United Nations Summit. But before that, can I express how glad we are, not only due to your presence, but your voice of conscience, your courage, and being very consistent and coherent in defending the whole entire spirit of multilateral arrangements and defending freedom and respecting the rights of countries, of minorities, and I think certainly we must say this, that is a challenge, but we admire your tenacity and your courage, including some very, what I said earlier about intractable cases like Gaza, the atrocities committed, and you have been, very consistent in the voice of reason and voice of conscience. So thank you very much. I would begin, of course, by inviting you, António Guterres, Secretary-General of the United Nations, to deliver your opening remarks.
Mr. Chair, Prime Minister Ibrahim, thank you for your warm welcome and for your leadership of ASEAN this year. Southeast Asia stands at the vanguard of a changing world. For nearly 6 decades, ASEAN has stood as a beacon of cooperation, and with Timor-Leste's accession, that spirit grows stronger. Today, ASEAN is a strategic partner of the United Nations. Our collaboration rests on shared principles and practical cooperation, from our comprehensive partnership to the ASEAN-UN Plan of Action 2026-2030. Let me highlight 4 areas of partnership. First, peace and prevention. ASEAN member states are deeply involved in the United Nations peacekeeping service with courage worldwide. I thank you very much for that. Excellencies, I applaud Malaysia's role in facilitating a ceasefire between Cambodia and Thailand, pointing the way to a peaceful settlement of the dispute. In South China Sea, incidents must be prevented, risks reduced, and freedom of navigation and overflight maintained in accordance with international law, including the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. In Myanmar, peace remains elusive. Thousands are dead, millions displaced, humanitarian needs are soaring, and the Rohingya and other communities are trapped in cycles of persecution and flight. The humanitarian plan remains critically underfunded. We need urgent support. I strongly condemn the bloodshed and urge all parties to halt the fighting, protect civilians, allow unimpeded humanitarian access, and engage in an inclusive political process. The release of those arbitrarily detained, including democratically elected leaders, is essential, and under current circumstances, any elections risk further exclusion and instability. the UN remains committed to supporting ASEAN's implementation of the 5-point consensus and Security Council Resolution 2669. Excellencies, global peace needs an interlinked multipolar world where equilibrium and cooperation prevail and arbitrary unilateral decisions are condemned to fail. And I see ASEAN as a fundamental pillar of that necessary multipolarity. Second, sustainable development and financial justice. Today, inequality is widening, debt is suffocating countries, the global financial safety net is failing, and it's high time for the reform of the international financial architecture. Global financial institutions must represent today's world with far greater participation of developing countries. ASEAN countries are clearly underrepresented, taking into account the present share of their global economy. Third, climate action. COP30 must demonstrate that the world can keep global warming below 1.5 degrees by the end of the century and deliver climate justice. Across ASEAN, floods, droughts, rising seas and haze are threatening food security, health and economic stability. We need nationally determined contributions that cut emissions much more deeply and accelerate the transition from fossil fuels to renewables. At COP30 in Brazil, we must go further and faster to close the ambition gap. We need more ambition in adaptation, mitigation, and climate financial justice. Fourth, digital transformation and cybersecurity. Artificial intelligence can accelerate development and inclusion. And last month, the United Nations launched 2 initiatives: an independent international scientific panel on artificial intelligence and an annual global dialogue on AI governance, connecting science, policy and practice and giving every country a voice. I also recognize the urgent need to tackle transnational organized crime, in particular cyber trafficking and scam centers. The United Nations through NODC will continue to support your efforts. Excellencies, the UN is proud to be your partner. Let us continue proving that cooperation is the strongest engine of peace and progress in Southeast Asia and beyond, and I thank you.
Thank you, Secretary General. Before we proceed, I request that the members of the media adjourn again for more coffee. No cakes because you are going to have dinner. Just coffee and tea. Yes, terima kasih. Thank you.